Everyone knows that The Last of Us 1 is the greatest and the most emotional game ever made, but despite playing through Joel and Ellie's unforgettable journey, I've never actually gone for the platinum. So this time, I'm taking the challenge to fully complete in the game, from finding every collectible, upgrade, and surviving some of the most terrifying encounters. But there's just one big problem. This is my first ever horror platinum. I've never been great with horror, so the question is, will I finally conquer this game and earn my first horror platinum, or will the journey become a nightmare that I wish I never started? Last of Us Part 1 was released on the PS5 in September 2022, developed by Naughty Dog, known for creating most iconic games. It is a remake from the PS3 version with a few twists compared to the remastered. In the remastered, to get the platinum, you had to endure the game on grounded difficulty, fully upgrade Joel and his weapons, collect all collectibles as well as online trophies. Thankfully, in this Last of Us Part 1, there is none of the difficulty selected trophy, as well as online trophies, making this supposedly the easiest platinum to obtain. The remake features a stunning visual and with the support of 4K resolution and a smooth 60 FPS performance mode, completely rebuilds the character models, improved combat and gameplay mechanics, enhanced enemy AI, and includes full Left Behind DLC. Together, these improvements make it the definitive way to experience Joel and Ellie's unforgettable journey. The game has 28 trophies to collect for the platinum, in which I took a few steps to earn it. Step 1 was to complete the game whilst grabbing every collectible I can along the way. Step 2 was to use chapter select to get the missing collectibles. Step 3 was to do the DLC, and step 4 was to again use chapter select to do anything that was missed in the Left Behind DLC. Before we jump into the story and my experience, I just wanted to quickly go over the collectibles needed for the platinum. There is a total of 254 collectibles, in which we need to find throughout the main story, and the rest are in the Left Behind DLC. These are split into 9 categories as shown in the image. Out of all of these, Sharpest Tool in the Shed is one of the trophies that I need to be careful of throughout the game, as it is a missable tool, and if missed, I have to replay the game to earn it. To avoid that, I use the guide, but only for the tool locations. Rather than following it step by step, I'd rather quickly check where each of the tool was and explore the area myself once I reach a section. That way, I still got to experience the game naturally without worrying about having to do another playthrough. Now without further ado, let's get into the gameplay. The story begins on what seems to be like an ordinary night, where we play as Joel's daughter Sarah. But within hours, a mysterious fungal infection spreads rapidly throughout the city, causing it to go into complete chaos as people are starting to turn violently infected. Sarah and Tommy desperately try to escape, but just when they think they've made it into safety, tragedy strikes. In one of the game's most heartbreaking openings, Joel loses his daughter, Sarah, leaving him emotionally broken and setting the stage for the unforgettable journey that follows. We skip 20 years later and we are now in control of Joel, who is no longer the caring father we met at the beginning and is now a smuggler alongside with Tess. We discover that our weapons have been stolen by Robert, a local arms dealer. These weapon supplies are valuable for their survival, so we make our way to track him down for it. Along the way, I earned my first trophy, Fallen Firefly, by finding our first Firefly pendant. There is a total of 30 pendants scattered throughout the game, all of which is required for the platinum, so this is just the first of many collectibles needed to hunt down. We move on to our first encounter with Robert's men, and during this section we can see how ruthless Joel has become. He is willing to threaten and hurt others to get what he needs, showing how much of a loss Sarah has changed him. We then find Robert, which led to a short chase scene. We have him trapped only to discover that he has sold the weapons to the Fireflies, which are a rebel group fighting against the federal control. Puzzled and confused how and where to find a member of the Firefly, luck was on their side when they were interrupted by Marlene, who is not only a member of the Firefly, but the leader of them as well. With Marlene injured, she offers Joel and Tess a deal. If they help to transport something valuable outside of the quarantine zone, she will return their weapons and more. Desperate for the guns, we follow Marlene back to see the valuable cargo is, only to discover it is not a supply or weapon at all. It is a 14-year-old teenage girl named Ellie. They were both reluctant at first, but Tess came up with a plan that Joel takes Ellie to the hideout and she escorts Marlene to safety and in return shows the supplies. Upon seeing the supplies, when she returned back to Joel and Ellie, she was more encouraged and had a more positive attitude, and encourages Joel to continue on with the agreement. We attempted to escape the quarantine zone, only to be stopped by a federal patrol who scans everyone for signs of infection. Joel and Tess tested negative. Distressed throughout the process of being scanned, Ellie fights back and reveals the truth. She was bitten weeks ago and was never turned. In that moment, we discover why she's important. She's immune to the infection. Word spread quickly about the fallen Federal soldiers that were reported, so we now have Federal patrol out for us as we make our way to escape the area, trying to do the best not to get caught. We manage to escape out of the zone and make our way through the abandoned slums outside of the quarantine zone. This section shows how much the world has changed. Buildings has collapsed, nature has been reclaimed on the streets, and the remains of old society are everywhere. We made our way through the abandoned building, only to find it has been infected with deadly clickers and infected. As they had the advantage in numbers, I made sure to try deal with them as stealthily as I can, as my heart was racing a lot during this to make sure that I wasn't seen by both infected and the clickers. As in this game, I was limited in resources and trying to figure out how to manage with clickers, as you need to kill them with shivs and I'm limited in them. I've only played this game for a few hours, and one thing I like about this game is how suspenseful the cutscenes are. They constantly keep you on edge, at least for me they do, especially since I don't handle horror games very well. On top of that, the performances are incredible and you can really feel the characters' fear, emotion and panic, making every moment feel much more intense. Shortly after the cutscene, we came across our first workbench, one of the 11 needed for the platinum. I made sure to interact with every workbench I found, and so I accidentally don't miss any in progress. Following on from that, we make our way through to the old museum. Joel and Tess get separated after they've been chased by an infected. With limited resources, stealth was the best option. I made sure to use bottles and bricks to create a distraction and to avoid wasting ammo. After regrouping, we face a final wave of infected before continuing towards the Firefly rendezvous point. This section took me a good few attempts, as the pressure of being surrounded by infected, combined with my nerves, made it difficult to stay calm and land my shots. At times, I would often use melee weapons to help get the hits in and to avoid ammo wastage. After that, we progressed and made our way to the rendezvous point, only to discover that the Fireflies we were supposed to meet were already dead. Tess becomes increasingly distressed by the situation, and we soon find out why. Turns out from the previous section, she was bitten during the escape. This also confirms Ellie's immunity is real, as she survived the bite that should have turned her. Realizing how important Ellie could be, Tess urges Joel to continue the mission without her. Shortly after, they are surrounded by Federal soldiers, forcing Tess to make the ultimate sacrifice. She stays behind to distract them, giving Joel and Ellie enough time to escape and to continue the journey. After making our way out of the area, Joel decides that the next course of action was to meet up with someone that he knows who owes him a favor in which he needs a car. In this section, the focus shifts from the constant action to exploration and the growing relationship between Joel and Ellie as we encounter more interaction between them. I also encountered some shiv doors in the area, but unfortunately, as I only had one, I missed another one, so I didn't have enough shivs to open them. I also found my first safe, which we will need for our platinum journey. To open these safes, we need to find a note nearby in the area which has the code to open them. We continue through the story until we run into one of Bill's traps, leaving Joel hanging upside down as a horde of infected closes in. Whether it was an awkward camera angle or me completely panicking, I couldn't seem to land my shots properly, making this encounter far more stressful than it should have been. Bill eventually comes in to save us, and we run for our lives as we are chased by a horde of infected to his safe house. Reluctant to help us at first, Bill eventually comes around to help us with our request, but we need the working parts for him to fix one up. We needed to go to the other side of town to get them. Before venturing off with Bill, I decided to explore the safe house to scrounge around for any ammo, health or material for our journey ahead, and here is where I got my second trophy after a long time, which was to find my first training manual. Shortly after, we learned how to craft nail bombs, which will be needed for this trophy. We also found this red toolbox, which is important. These are where the tools are, and it is important for this trophy as these are missables, and I had to keep an extra eye on them to make sure to get it for the first playthrough. Now that we are all geared up, we head into unfamiliar territory filled with runners and clickers, making stealth the safest options. I'll be honest, I had no idea what I was supposed to do or go here. I was too busy trying to not alert any infected. Thankfully, I managed to sneak through as we made our way to the local school to find the parts that we need. Or so we thought. Turns out the vehicle with the parts that we need is empty. Someone got there before we'd have. Panicked and stressed with our failed mission, our next course of action was to escape the school as infected and clickers and runners were all over our tail. We made our way to the school gym, and here is where I was introduced to something which spiked my anxiety levels and made me question if I can complete the game, let alone the platinum. We encountered our first bloater. These thick, voluptuous zombies have more armor and take a bit more effort to take down. Not only do I have to take it down, but I also had to manage to fend off infected who were made their way through to the school. It took almost all my resources to take this bloater out, and I didn't have much to craft Molotovs, which was essential for this area as it was easy to take them down. We escaped by a hairline into the house nearby, which turned out to be one of Bill's old friend Frank, who unfortunately chose to end his life as he was bitten. Thankfully, he was the one who took the parts and had a truck in the house. Upon exploring the house, I found a note from him and decided to give it to Bill. He threw it away and we picked it up to earn the next trophy. We continued with the story, and this segment ends with us finally jump-starting the truck whilst fending off a last wave of clickers and infected. With Bill's town behind us, we now head into what I found was the longest and most frustrating chapters of the game, and I'll explain why shortly. We entered Pittsburgh, and what was thought to be a normal drive as we entered through the city, we came across a man pretending to be injured and asking for help. Joel immediately recognized it was an ambush and tries to drive away, but the hunters crashes us, forcing Joel and Ellie to abandon it. This forces us to fight off a wave of hunters. After dealing with them, we tried to escape the area and explore nearby, and I earned another trophy for finding my first comic. This whole section objective is basically to escape the city and make our way to the bridge at the end. With so many hunters in this chapter, stealth was our only friend as we carefully tread our way out to escape. We managed to make our way to the abandoned hotel. Upon trying to help Ellie to get across to enter the hotel, we witnessed some shocking events. They used armoured vehicles to run down any survivors down, as well as a fitted gunman to loot them. After seeing how bad the area was, I really wanted to finish the chapter, and it took some time trying to assassinate my way through the game, as well as being dead all the time. As we progressed, the situation became worse, as the game decides it was a good idea for Joel and Ellie to get separated. As when we tried to climb the elevator to make our way to the top, the unsecured elevator decides to break, making Joel fall to the bottom of the flooded basement. This section really had my heart racing, and you'll see why in a bit, and to this day I have not fully recovered and I will be needing a therapist. We needed to find the generator to turn the lights on, and once we did, a herd of infected came chasing us. Clearly, as if that wasn't enough to raise my heart rate, the game decided to give me another heart attack by giving me a bloater. Now I am panicking for my life, dying a good few times, not realizing or knowing where or what to do, and it didn't help as I was running around and all I can hear is Joe breathing frantically, which is embodied how I was breathing throughout this whole section. I was panicking and dying a good few times that I didn't even notice or realize that I needed a key to unlock the door to escape. I was that scared, overwhelmed, overstimulated as it took me a good hour to do this section that I had to use a guide to see what I needed to get the key to unlock the door to escape. Once I escaped, I thought I can collect my thoughts and catch a breath, but unfortunately I was forced straight away into action to take out these hunters. This was the point where I hated this section and I wanted the nightmare to just be over and end it, and I was losing motivation to platinum the game. We managed to take out the remaining of the hunters and found ourselves in a near-death situation, but luckily Ellie was there to save us even though it meant taking a life. We progressed onwards and found ourselves being chased down by the armed vehicle, in which we managed to escape into a building, and here is where we met Henry and Sam, two brothers who had been trying to survive the hunters. At first, neither side trusted each other, but we shared the same common goal, and we decided to work together to escape to a nearby abandoned radio station where they were supposed to meet up with their group. Like any good survivor story, we used the cover of darkness to escape Pittsburgh. This time, with Henry and Sam at our side, we quietly take down the hunters whenever we have to. I also remembered there was an easy trophy for this, in which we needed to switch off the spotlight while staying stealthy. We managed to make our way out the area, but time was ticking as there was a truck pushing through and Henry decides to leave us in a difficult situation. The armed vehicle broke through the gate and was chasing us, and we managed to make our way to the end of the broken bridge as planned. But it was an intense chase situation in which Ellie decided to jump down into the water despite not being able to swim, in the hopes that Joel will be jumping in as well to save her and grab her to escape. The river carries us to the outskirts of Pittsburgh, where we have an intense reunion with Henry and Sam. Although Joel is furious at first, he understands why Henry chose to save Sam, admitting he would have done the same for Ellie. This is one of the first moments where Joel's prospectively father instinct toward Ellie begins to show. Joel, Ellie, Henry and Sam travel through the underground sewer system to avoid both hunters and infected. As we make our way, we quickly learn what happened to the small community. We learn that the families had built a safe haven here in the underground before it eventually fell apart after infected breached the settlement. Before that, I managed to find a workbench when I was able to earn a trophy for fully upgrading one of the weapons. We explored the quiet neighborhood, sharing conversation about the life before the outbreak and allowing the group to have a bonding session before everything changes. The calm doesn't last long as soon as the hunters attack the neighborhood. I make my way to the final house where there was a sniper, and I was able to provide cover to defend Ellie, Sam and Henry. I enjoyed this section because it felt different compared to the usual stealth encounters. giving me a chance to take control of the fight back rather than constantly sneaking around past and escaping the enemies. After dealing with the armoured vehicle, it finally feels like we put the hunters behind us. However, that sense of safety quickly disappears when infected suddenly ambush the group, leaving me with a bad feeling that someone has been bitten. Later that night, we discover that Sam was bitten during the attack. The following morning, the situation takes a tragic turn when Sam turns, forcing Henry to make a heartbreaking decision to kill his own brother. Unable to cope with the guilt of losing one of the family he had left, Henry takes his own life, leaving Joel and Ellie to continue the journey alone. It is now the beginning of August and it takes place after the events of Henry and Sam. The two continue their journey alone, crossing the Hydro Dam until they reach Tommy's settlement. As we make our way to the settlement, I earned a trophy in which I really felt bad about, which was not to give Ellie a high five back. We eventually reached Tommy's settlement where Joel wanted to speak to Tommy about an important matter, but before we do, I decided to earn another trophy, which was Pet Lover, and it was to pet the dog, earning me another easy trophy. Joel asked Tommy to help finding the fireflies, but Tommy refuses at first because he knows how dangerous the journey is. However, after seeing Joel's connection with Ellie, Tommy agrees to help. Shortly after arriving to the settlement, we were attacked by a group of invaders, forcing us to defend the area. Throughout the journey, I made sure to keep track of the melee weapons I upgraded and used until they broke. I wasn't expecting to get this trophy this soon, but my preparations paid off as I managed to earn the trophy during this section. After dealing with them, we found out that Ellie overheard the conversation and decided to run away, leaving Joel and Tommy to go after her. They find her in the ranch where Ellie discusses her feelings to Joel. And this is where the iconic and emotional scene is.
Everyone I have cared for has either died or left me. Everyone fucking except for you. So don't tell me that I would be safer with someone else, because the truth is I would just be more scared.
After the conversation in the ranch, the house gets invaded and we get another trophy for crafting every item. Honestly, I don't know how I didn't get this trophy earlier, as I had every crafting item unlocked. This was just the last trophy I earned and it took a long time for the next one to appear. We regroup back where Tommy reveals where the Firefly labs are, in which is at our university. After their discussion, Joel realizes that Anne took Ellie's feelings into consideration and decided that he would continue on the journey with her. We arrive at the university and explore the abandoned campus, only to discover that the group has already moved to Salt Lake City. While searching for clues, they encounter hostile survivors and are forced to fight their way out through the university. We also discover more evidence of the Firefly research before they are ambushed by enemies. During our escape, Joel suffers some serious injury, leaving Ellie to take responsibility and to protect him as they continue on with their journey to escape. As Joel's injury gets worse, this leaves Ellie to take charge to keep him alive. This is a major shift in their relationship, as Ellie is forced to protect Joel whilst he recovers. With winter approaching and Joel unable to continue, Ellie takes on the responsibility of finding supplies and keeping them safe. Upon gathering resources, we meet Dave and one of his men. Thankful to say that I never really trusted him, and you'll soon see why. After fighting off a large group of clickers and runners, David reveals to Ellie that those were the men Joel and Ellie killed whilst they were fighting their way out of the university. He gave Ellie the medicine she needed. After being told this information, she rushes back to Joel, giving him the medicine. The following morning, David's men were searching for her. Turns out they followed her tracking back. Desperate to keep Joel safe, Ellie uses the horses and make a run to lead them away from the area and to come back once they're dealt with. We take control of Ellie, fighting our way through. Initially, this section also took some time, as I was dying a lot because there were so many men and I just wanted to escape. Eventually, I found out, instead of just trying to rush through this segment, to just try be stealthy and to be quick with my stuff as well, as I found when I hesitated, if the opportunity is good, I ended up drawing attention. The segment ends with David capturing us and taking us back to his place. Turns out, David is a creep and has a thing for Ellie. The next section goes back and forth, playing as Joel and Ellie. For now, we play as Joel, fighting our way through David's men whilst trying to find Ellie. Up until a certain point, we then switch back to Ellie's perspective, where we manage to escape David, and we're now trying to sneak our way past through the town and end up in a dining place trapped with David. The goal here was to attack David 3 times, but this section for me was a pain. It took me a long time to do this section because I keep getting caught by him and I'm letting my nerves get to me. He also started sprinting out of nowhere at one point, which scared me all of a sudden, to which I ended up pausing the game because why is he running in a small space? It was a tense section because, to be honest, let's be real, the girl is trapped in a place with a creepy dude chasing her around with a machete, and who wouldn't be scared of that? To top things off, the building was in flames as well. There was this feature that was added that had broken plates on the ground, so when you walk on them it makes like a crunching sound to draw his attention. Anyway, what felt like hours, we finally dealt with David and the game shifted back to Joel as he continues to search for Ellie, but this time we were in the town she was just at. Joel finds her in the dining area, which led to this emotional scene.
Oh, baby girl. It's okay. It's okay.
Joel.
It's okay.
This is a powerful moment that shows far how the relationship has come. Ellie is no longer someone Joel to protect. She becomes family and Joel truly stepped back into his fatherly role. We arrive at the outskirts of Salt Lake City and already you can tell Ellie doesn't seem herself. She seems distant and quiet whilst Joel is the one trying to keep the relationship light, talking about the future and even cracking jokes with Ellie. We make our way towards the underground tunnel. But before that, I earned a trophy for the sharpest tool in the shed. The weight was lifted once this trophy was earned, and this was the missable. I felt like I peacefully enjoyed the rest of the game, and the only thing left to do was just the collectibles to get. Going through the underground tunnel was no easy task, as it was filled with not only clickers but runners and also 3 bloaters. I made sure again to use as much distraction as I can, limiting my weapons to not draw attention to myself. Once we dealt with that, the tunnel began to flood with powerful waves of water in which Ellie was injured and we were captured by none other than the Fireflies. We wake up in the hospital where Joel learns some disturbing information from Marlene about Ellie. She is immune because of the cordyceps in her brain. Because of this, she's being prepped for surgery. The issue is that if the surgery is successful, she won't make it due to it being in her brain. Joel, knowing this information, could not stand by and let this happen. This can only mean one thing. We fight our way one last time to reach Ellie before the procedure begins, taking down a large number of Fireflies standing in our way. With Ellie's life on the line, there was no time to waste. We reached the operating room just in time to pick Ellie up and make our escape while she's still unconscious. As Joel carries her out, he once again calls her baby girl. Once Ellie has regained consciousness, she asks what happens and he explains to her how there are more people like her and the research has been unsuccessful and they have stopped looking for a cure and they're on their way home. Except of course, we know this is a lie just to protect Ellie. We reach the final section of The Last of Us Part 1. After escaping the Firefly Hospital, Joel and Ellie are travelling towards Tommy's settlement. Ellie is still processing everything that has happened at the hospital, but the game begins to show that Joel is fully committed to protecting her.
Said about the Fireflies is true.
I swear.
Okay.
The game has now finished and we earn a trophy for finishing the main story game. However, we are still far from complete as there are some cleanup to do before we can go on to the Left Behind DLC. Thankfully, there wasn't a lot of collectibles to collect as I have collected most of them throughout my playthrough and there was just only an odd few here and there in each chapter. What I mostly missed was the conversation as these were counted as collectibles, so I used chapter replay and thankfully the PlayStation had the hints to show all the collectibles, conversations and everything that I needed. First up was collecting all safes as I had missed one in the earlier chapter. Next up was an easy one which I somehow missed. It was to ride the sewer contraption with Sam and Henry. I then worked on Prepared for the Worst, which required finding all the workbenches. I had missed one at the final part of the university, so I went back and grabbed that. After that, I worked on another collectible trophy for finding all training manuals, which the last one being in the underground tunnel. I forgot to mention that after finishing the game, I unlocked some of the cheats to speed up the process cleanup, including infinite ammo and crafting. These were essentially useful for collecting everything, particularly the shift doors, since I don't have to worry about running out of crafts for them. Moving on from that, in the same area, I picked up the final comic that I needed to unlock another trophy. I left the Pittsburgh chapter until last because I knew I had to replay basically the whole thing to collect everything that I had missed. Thankfully, with the cheats it made it much more easier, allowing me to unlock Master of Unlocking for opening all shift doors. Finally, whilst in the same chapter, I was able to collect all the remaining Firefly pendants and earned another trophy for finding them all as well. This concludes all the collectibles for the main story, and it is now time to move on to the DLC to get the remaining trophies and collectible to unlock that platinum. The DLC takes place when Joel was injured after the university, and it portrays the struggle Ellie had to do to try keep Joel alive whilst in search for meds, as well as being chased down by David's men who we didn't know at the time. It also has flashbacks to Ellie's time with Riley and acts as a backstory as to how she got bitten. Most of the trophies here were DLC related, and we earned our first trophy for winning a brick throwing contest by breaking all the windows of an abandoned car in the mall. We finally earned the trophy for surviving all of Ellie's jokes as it continues in the DLC as well as the main story. I earned another trophy for defeating Black Fang without getting a hit. Initially I thought we would play an actual arcade game, but because of power issues we resorted to using our imagination instead, and we had to hit all the buttons without error, otherwise that led to being hit. Another trophy was earned here in which I had to win a water gun fight, and you had to be quick with your reaction and aim to get the trophy. In terms of the story, not much actually happens, as most of the time you are searching for meds as Ellie, then have flashbacks. In terms of how she got bitten, she was having an enjoyable time with Riley as she reveals she's going out and is now part of the Fireflies. She wanted to spend quality time with Ellie, and she wanted Ellie to tell her not to go ahead, and so she does. Unfortunately, later that night in the mall, infected ambushes the place. This led to an intense chase scene where we were trying to escape as well as looking out for each other. Ellie tries to climb a scaffold, but it falls down, leaving her to be attacked by one of the infected. Riley stays behind to shoot them down, and now both of them are fighting the infected. Once that was over, Riley notices that Ellie was bitten on the arm and she had been bitten too. The scene goes back and forth now as we are finishing off with the DLC, as Ellie had to fight off David's men and there was an infected ambushing the place to make it back to Joel. This also shows how Joel was stitched up. It goes back again to the flashback of how Ellie was panicking, and Riley suggested they have two options.
Option 1. You take the easy way out. It's quick and painless. 2. We fight. We should have died before today. And a million ways we can die before tomorrow. But we fight for every second we get to spend with each other. Whether it's 2 minutes or 2 days, we don't give that up. I don't want to give that up. Let's just wait it out. You know, we can be all poetic and just lose our minds together. Come on. Let's get out of here.
This about finishes up the DLC and the trophy earned for completing the DLC. After that, we used Chapter Select to do the remaining collectibles and any DLC related trophies that I had missed before the platinum, as it's now within reach. I started off by going to the end and used the distraction to make the hunters and infected kill each other to unlock a trophy. I then went back to earn a DLC related trophy for playing Jack X. I was kinda disappointed that I was really hoping to actually play the game, as I really loved the franchise, as you saw in the previous video. I then worked on getting the remaining collectibles and earned 2 trophies, one for engaging in all optional conversations and another one for finding all notes and artifacts which popped the trophy. Looking back, The Last of Us Part 1 is much more enjoyable platinum experience than I expected. As it was my first horror platinum, there were definitely moments where stealth sections and limited resources had me panicking, and there were also times I genuinely wondered if I could make it through the game. Thankfully, the platinum isn't as overly difficult compared to the remasters, but there were some times that I couldn't handle the horror well, making it a bit more difficult, and had me questioning my abilities. Thankfully, most of the trophies came through exploring, collecting, upgrading, and completing the story. The biggest challenge was making sure I didn't miss a few trophies that required extra attention. But what made the experience more special was the story. Watching Joel and Ellie go from complete strangers to developing a genuine father-daughter bond made the journey feel more incredibly emotional and meaningful. Overall, I definitely recommend going for the platinum. It was intense, emotional, and at times terrifying, but definitely finishing it made the experience all more feel worthwhile. And despite questioning why I chose a horror game for my first platinum, I'm generally glad I did. If you enjoyed the video and made it to the end, please leave a like and subscribe for more platinum journeys. Your support is always appreciated. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.